I just want to say, Jason Brown from Aro Lucha, it's a pleasure to talk to you. The fans have a lot of questions. I actually have a lot of questions, so I'm going to pose them to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where does the idea come from to start a Lucha Libre promotion?
Ron and Don Harris kind of brought me into the wrestling business. I'm a newbie to the wrestling business. I loved it. I watched it as a kid. I watched Hulk Hogan and talked to my little Hulkamaniacs. I watched the Road Warrior. My favorite wrestler was Ricky Steamboat and then also the Great Muta.
Right.
So I loved wrestling as a kid. We had the opportunity through another one of my companies to film. We did 2 or 3 seasons of Impact Wrestling for TNA. So anything that you saw on pay-per-view and things like that, you know, for the past couple years, we did. So after we got done with that contract, Ron and Don had a phenomenal idea. They had always wanted to start a wrestling company. So when we started looking at this and we looked at, you know, how the Hispanic population is growing and what a great culture they had, it was really evident. You know, they had this idea to start a Lucha Libre promotion. We also understood that we didn't know some things, and so we wanted to surround ourselves with some of the best people in Lucha Libre. Obviously, we reached out to you, and you were a pillar and a foundation to the company. Also, you know, Rey Mysterio came and headlined one of our shows. With that, you started bringing talent, some of the best talent a roster the world has ever seen in Lucha Libre, and so the gaps started to fill in. And so we all kind of had our specialty, you know, with story and costume and production values, but, you know, we knew we needed to fill the gap on the Lucha Libre side. And we just love Lucha Libre because I think it's a new form of storytelling in wrestling. It's been around for a long time, but it's really getting hot in America and in the United States. And with the high-flying, non-stop action, it really is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible because I think, you know, the Latino audience has been underserved as far as Lucha Libre. We saw the project that Lucha Underground started with. They were a very hot commodity, but they weren't able to capitalize on that. Why do you feel you're going to be different than what Lucha Underground did and you'll be more successful?
Yeah, well, first off, Lucha Underground's a great product. Obviously, they've been around for 4 or 5 seasons. Hats off to them because they do such a phenomenal job. You know, I think we play in the same sport, but I think we're different. I think we're a different company. You know, we're very family friendly. You know, we're positioned so that mom, dad, son, daughter, grandmother, grandfather can all go to the show. That's something that we really wanted to focus on. But then the other thing, too, is the quality of talent that is getting brought into Aro Lucha through you and through some other people, it's phenomenal. So I think that's it. The hardcore, authentic Lucha Libre is at the core of the company.
And let me expand on that because this is something that you and I discussed before. It's, you know, especially in Mexican culture, like when you go to the bullfights, you'll see a lot of couples there. When you go to boxing, you'll see mostly men. When you go to soccer games, you will see families, but unfortunately, a lot of soccer games have turned violent. Lucha Libre is a place where you go in there, it's fan-friendly, family-friendly, you have a good time, and everybody, you know, is talking about, did you see what the referee did? Did you see that high-flying guy? Did you see that? And everybody's really excited. And plus the experience, because when you walk in, you know, you guys are giving out temporary tattoos and taking pictures, and
absolutely,
it's incredible. It's a really good atmosphere. And when you talk about talent, that's really striking to me because I think that what we've been able to assemble right now in Aro Lucha, I'd put up against any roster anywhere in the world.
I would agree. Yeah, I mean, when you look at some of the talent that you've been able to bring, full disclosure, you know, that Konnan books all of our shows, you know, and he has literally been, I mean, you've literally been coined the guy to go and find talent in Lucha Libre with Rey Mysterio and all of the up-and-coming guys. You know, such an eye for talent. So, you know, some of the guys we had on our pilot when we filmed in December on December 10th, Rey Mysterio, Penta, John Hennigan, so many guys that came in. And I think that at the end of the day, that has to be the foundation. You have to have talented guys who can come in and execute and perform at such a very high level and be excellent. You know, one of our core values is to be excellent in everything we do. And so I think that starts at the talent because the people are going to know.
Right, exactly, 100%. They're very sophisticated. And so here's another question. So we've done a couple house shows. We're learning as we go. What's next? Are we looking at TV? What's the next step?
Yeah, we got some exciting things planned for Aro Lucha. You know, the next step is TV. So we're going to go into June, and somewhere in May, June, July, we're going to film season 1, and then we have some other things that are planned for Aro Lucha that are really exciting from the company standpoint, where we're able to really give the fans something that they've never been able to have before. And so that's probably the most exciting thing about our company.
So what's this thing that I've been hearing about, this Reg CF, is that what it's called, and Reg A? Can you expand on that?
Absolutely. So a couple years ago, Obama signed something in called the Jobs Act. Through that became Reg CF, Regulation A, Tier 1 and Tier 2 crowdfunding. It basically allowed fans to get into a piece of the action. So before that, only accredited investors could invest in a company, you know, a publicly traded company, WWE, things of that nature. Because of those laws and how they were changed, it allowed companies to really listen to their fans and to build a fan base to help steer their company, which was pretty amazing. Legion M is a great example. They were the first fan-owned movie studio, and I think they have over 7,000 or 8,000 investors now, and 20,000 people just signed up that may not be investors, but that listen and to help that company. And so that's what we're looking at doing, and so we're going to become the first fan-owned Lucha Libre company that the world has seen.
What are some of the companies that we've heard of that are under the same umbrella?
Yes, that's a great question. So it isn't a fly-by-night thing. Right. I mean, you talk about Congress, you know, the Senate passing laws, the SEC. This is very, very regulated, so we have to be an open book. Right. Elio Motors was probably one of the most famous. It was the first one that came out and did a public Reggae raise, Reggae Tier 2, I think. Fat Burger. Legion M, Mayomo. You have a lot of very large, if you've read any of the Chicken Soup for the Souls, that company just filed for the Reggae. So it's something that a lot of popular companies and well-established companies are doing, simply because it allows you to take your fans, listen to them, and build really a legion of fans that can help support and help grow your company.
So explain to us how, because what you're actually doing is you're empowering the fans. How are you doing that?
Yeah, in wrestling, one of the things that I found, it's been so amazing to find, is they're passionate. Right. Wrestling fans are one of the most passionate group of people. If I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I'm watching them talk about storylines, what they like, what they don't like. They always have an opinion. Well, this is going to be the first outlet where we're going to be able to reach out to the fans and say, okay, if you want it, we're going to give it to you. So if that takes the form of, hey, here's a couple storylines. Who do you want to see? Who do you want us to book? Who do you want us to see put the belt on? So it's the first time that fans are actually going to have power. They're going to have say-so in a Lucha Libre company that is a professional wrestling company that's up and coming in the United States, that's one of the biggest and growing demographics in the United States. It's going to be around for a long time, so I think that's pretty exciting.
You know, one of the things that we see about fans, and we've discussed this before, is they're very hypercritical because they haven't been given what they want a lot of times. And finally, they'll be able to say, this is what we want, and Aro Lucha is going to give it to them.
Absolutely, and you can't make everybody happy. Right. So obviously, you know, some fans are going to want us to put the belt on somebody. Somebody's going to want to put this belt on somebody else. We can't make everybody happy, but what we are going to be able to do is listen. We're going to listen to what the fans want. It's going to be a fan-owned company, and we think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Kind of like the Green Bay Packers.
Absolutely, great example. You know, the Green Bay Packers, what's so exciting about that is that's emotional. Those guys love the Green Bay Packers. And here's the thing, you know, full disclosure, this isn't something that you want to put your retirement into. This isn't something you want to put your 401k into. You know, if you can't bear the loss of 100% of the investment, we're asking you, don't do this, because this is something where if you can bear, you know, $99, $100 to come in and come alongside of us, because that's what we're really looking for, is fans who want to come alongside of this company and help grow it. You know, it's something that you're going to have, you could pass down to your kids. You know, it's something that you can say you're a proud owner of a company where there's other shareholders that are pretty that are pretty well known.
What are some of the perks of being an owner of Aro Lucha besides being able to pick matches?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the first thing that a lot of people talk about, you know, there is the potential for an ROI. It's almost like finding Facebook before it was Facebook, or, you know, the WWE before it was the WWE. I mean, there's a lot of examples of companies out there who, if you would have got in on the ground floor, you would have been very successful. Now, there's also a lot of examples out there of companies that went belly up. So, you know, you just need to look at that and make sure that this is something you want to do.
Explain to people what the ROI is.
Return on investment. So, if you invest $100 and you buy some shares, the goal is that eventually those shares, grow in value and you're able to get a return on your investment. But the other thing too, there's also something, it's emotional ROI. It's something that if someone loves the wrestling business and they want to be a part of this company, that's a benefit too. On top of that, you're going to get access to our exclusive Facebook group where you're going to come in. We're going to do interviews with a lot of the talent. It's very exclusive. It's invitation only. So, you'll be inside the Facebook group to see different interviews, to find different talent. You're going to get discounts on merchandise. You're going to get discounts on future shows. So there's a lot of perks just for signing up. And that's if you don't want to invest either. You can sign up to be an Aro Luchador and not invest a dime and learn about the company and get access to those things. Or you can choose, to make an investment. And the minimum investment is going to be $99 or $100, so it's not a lot of money.
So are we talking about touring in the future?
Absolutely. Our goal is to become the #1 Lucha Libre professional wrestling company in the United States. So that's an opportunity for a lot of things. In the future, television shows, touring, merchandise, comic books, movies, documentaries. There's so many avenues that we can expand into that we're really, really excited about.
I just want to say, Jason, I've been in this business 30 years and I've worked with literally every major company, that's been around in those 30 years. And I'm really excited and amped at what we're doing because we're, as you know, unlike in the United States, Lucha Libre is almost like a religion in Mexico. And right after soccer, it's the biggest, most popular sport or form of entertainment. And I see that you guys are really interested in making an impact in the Hispanic communities. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we live by a set of core values. Some of those core values you can find on our website, but it's to be generous. One is to always listen. Listen first and then make a decision. Another one is leave places, people better than you found them. So one of the things that we're very excited about is in the wrestling business, I think there's been a lot of past history where promotions have taken advantage of wrestlers, and talent. I've been very fortunate in the sense that Ron and Don and yourself and a lot of the people I've been engaged with are former talent. So I get a different perspective. We get a different perspective seeing it from the talent side. So if there's opportunities for us to help the talent and to make their lives better, then we're going to try to do that. Also, with the Hispanic community, it's one of the fastest growing communities in the United States. The buying power is supposed to reach 1.7 trillion. They're about to surpass African Americans as the #1 minority in the ballot box. So it's such a growing community that you have to look at it and accept it. And if it's a community that we love, they're family centric. To go out and see families come out, mom, dad, and the kids. That's why we do it, to see the kids smile. When you see how family centric they are and what a hard-working community they are, it makes you want to reciprocate that and provide value and provide something that's theirs. And right now in the United States, I don't think there's anything that they can call their own in the Lucha Libre space.
Yeah, and the great thing is, me and Rey Mysterio are very excited to be part of this project. And, one of the things is that you've always seen Lucha Libre almost being like an appetizer in other promotions. Like they'll have their matches and then they'll have like one lucha match. We're the main entree here.
It's the main course here.
And this is what you're gonna get, uncut Lucha Libre from Mexico, just as you see it over there, the most exciting type of Lucha Libre in the world. And, I'm really happy to be a part of this. And is there anything else that you would like to talk about that I haven't brought up?
No, I'd love to flip it on you and just ask. Obviously, you're from Cuba.
Right.
Been in the Lucha Libre space, you're a legend.
Right.
You've literally sold out venues, how many years have you been in this business? So I would just like to ask, where do you see Lucha Libre going, and what's the potential for Lucha Libre in the United States?
Well, my personal experience is this. When I first came to the United States and we had the influx of luchadors, which basically started in ECW with Paul Heyman, then we went to WCW. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew how to book it. Nobody knew how to write for them. There was a lot of cultural ignorance, if you will. And now, 20 years later, it's incredible. You don't have to explain to people what it is like I used to have 20 years ago. I had to explain, you know, to Eric Bischoff, to Kevin Sullivan, to people in power what it was, and you know, and they were like, "Wow, Rey Mysterio is so small," or, you know, and now it's like I don't even have to say anything. And so I remember like when I wrestled in Calgary for Stu Hart, and this was I want to say 1990. And they didn't have anybody that could wrestle Lucha Libre. When I was in WWE as Max Moon, there was nobody on that roster that knew how to wrestle Lucha Libre. We had to bring in Mexicans to wrestle my style, because I didn't even know how to wrestle American style. Just to show that Vince didn't even understand the power of the Latino demographic. When I was there, we never had a conversation of, hey, I need a Latino superstar. You know, he was more worried in that the robot that I was wearing, the outfit, Max Moon, you know, make sure that that was going to work how he envisioned it. You know, now they're just dying to have a Latino superstar. You know, Lucha Libre, everybody knows what it is now. And, you know, it's one of Mexico's big exports. When you think of Mexico and you think of, you know, mariachis, and you think of tequila, and you think of, you know, the Azteca warriors, you also now think of Lucha Libre. And so I'm really happy that, you know, with the progression of Lucha Libre, and people know what it is, that you guys have such a respect for it. And, you know, all the ingredients are there to be, as you said, the #1 lucha promotion in the United States. And I'm proud to be part of it.
Obviously, you've been fighting and working to bring Lucha Libre to the surface for many, many, many years.
Right.
How does it make you feel to see what's happening in the United States with Lucha Libre?
You know, like I said, it's something that people now understand. People now, there's a respect for it. Before, there was a lot of head scratching, a lot of, you know, off-the-cuff remarks that weren't very pleasant, because they just didn't understand Lucha Libre. And here's the thing, a lot of times people would say, oh, well, you know, there's no psychology, and, you know, they don't sell enough, and all these other things. And my whole thing was like, well, okay, so what you're really saying is, you don't see American wrestling. So if you want to see American wrestling, watch American wrestling. This is Lucha Libre. Why are you trying to see, you know, it's almost like going to a horror movie and asking why there's no comedy in it. Well, it's a horror movie. If you want comedy, watch a comedy movie. This is Lucha Libre, and it is what it is. Point. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's the most exciting, most creative. When I first saw Lucha Libre, I didn't grow up, you know, of course I'm from Cuban, Puerto Rican parents. So in Miami, I didn't know what Lucha Libre was. I didn't even know where Mexico was, to tell you the truth. So when I first went to my first Lucha Libre show, I was about 22 years old. And I was just mesmerized by how fast, how quick the action was, how creative stuff I'd never seen. You know, the mask, the pageantry, you know, the capes, the rabidness of the fans, you know, how passionate they were, how loyal they were. And even in the United States, you know, we don't have a lot of people to look up to, Hispanics in the United States. Luchadors are guys that you can look up to. And they're, you know, when you look at like a soccer player, after a big soccer match, they get in the bus, they leave, they have security. It's very hard to get near them. Luchadors, they come out, you can take pictures with them, you can do meet and greets, you know.
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited.
Speaking of icons and luchadors, you know, obviously the people can see for the season 1 of Aro Lucha that we're filming this year, and you know, maybe you can talk about someone who signed on to be part of the first season of Aro Lucha, and you can kind of put it into perspective.
Rey Mysterio, obviously everybody knows the connection that we've had. You know, obviously I probably discovered him when he was 13 years old. Nobody believed in him. And I just always thought, you know, I mean, look at him. He's out of the ordinary. I mean, he's like a once-in-a-generation type of wrestler. And, you know, I was right. And so Psychosis is another guy, Juventud Guerrera is another guy, Pentagon. But Rey Mysterio, you know, first of all, when you talk about the core values of this company, he's a guy that really, I mean, there could be no better ambassador. He's an incredible human being, not because he's my friend, but everybody that's met him, you know this for a fact, any fan that's met him, he's very humble. He's an incredible family man. You know, he's very deeply religious. He's very proud of his heritage. And so it's a beautiful thing to have Rey here. We're blessed to have him here. The kickoff, I mean, there's no bigger name in Lucha Libre. And you saw the reaction he got when he went to the Royal Rumble. You know,
no bigger name in Lucha Libre, but probably not very many bigger names in professional wrestling in general.
Right. So he's a guy that's transcended Lucha Libre, you know, like Eddie Guerrero did. And I'm just proud that he is with us. He's blessing us, and the roster that we've amassed, it's like a family. And so, you know, I'm pumped.
You know, I look at Ray and I look at just his character, and I see so many similarities between Ray and what he, you know, it's all about heart, never giving up. You know, David and Goliath. I look at our company, you know, and how a lot of people said, hey, you're not going to be able to do this. You know, and here we are today, you know, talking about season 1 with Ray. You know, I also look at the Hispanic community in the United States and a lot of things that they're facing, going through. And I think there's just so many tie-ins, and, you know, that the phrase that we use is no dejas de luchar. You know, and I think that can apply to a lot of things. So hopefully there's a lot of people out there who love wrestling and want to be a part of it. And so we invite you to check us out. Come to arolucha.com and learn about the story, learn about our company, and if it's something that you want to come in and be a part of, we invite you to do it.
No dejes de luchar, Aro Lucha.